Afternoon, everybody. Despite unrelenting predictions from many of you today in the press that we would fail this week, we did exactly the opposite. I'm really glad to tell you that House Republicans pulled together and delivered some major pieces of legislation and huge priorities for the country in the last few days. Let me give you a couple of examples. We passed the Farm Bill, as you know, a major achievement, delivering real relief and certainty for our rural America and for all Americans. This is the first time Congress has done that since 2018. Been quite a while, but we got it done. We've also made certain that the House is going to be able to have an up or down vote on a date certain on the E15 issue, which is, is a big priority for a lot of our members here in the chamber. And most importantly of all the things we got done this week, we got the budget resolution passed. This is very, very important because that will ensure that border security and immigration enforcement will continue today and well into the future, despite Democrat attempts to reopen our borders and protect criminal illegal aliens from removal. The net result of passing our reconciliation bill is that ICE and CBP are funded for 3 years. And Democrats got absolutely nothing for their political charade and shenanigans out of that. We repeatedly offered in good faith, I want to point out, remind everybody to negotiate on funding these agencies. But ultimately, the sad and actually shocking truth is there's not a Democrat in the House or the Senate that believes border security and immigration enforcement should exist at all. By word and deed, Democrats have made clear their desire to defund both of those critical functions of our government. We also passed the FISA reauthorization to ensure that the administration is armed with the best possible intelligence to continue eliminating terrorists and defending our homeland. We pray that the Senate can now pass our FISA bill as quickly as possible, and they're deliberating over that right now. Now, I just want to say this. Sometimes the process around here is cumbersome. That's the way this works. But in spite of our razor-thin, historically small majority, House Republicans continue to deliver for the American people. We will continue to do that for the remainder of the year, and that is a large reason why we are going to win the midterms so that the grown-ups can stay in charge here. I'll take a few questions.
Mr. Speaker. Isn't this a solution on DHS that could have been passed days or weeks ago? Why did it take this long?
It couldn't, and here's why. You heard me trash the bill when it came over the first time because it literally was drafted in the middle of the night. It was about 2 o'clock in the morning when they came up with the final language, and it was haphazardly drafted. And what it would do is, of course, orphan and leave out immigration enforcement and Border Patrol. If you might remember, in 2024, the number one issue in the election was securing that border. House Republicans did it. The Trump administration, the president did that. And Democrats are upset about it. So they wanted to leave that out. They wanted to orphan these two critical agencies that are under the umbrella of Homeland Security. I remind everybody on the Hill all the time, the Department of Homeland Security is the third largest department of the federal government. It has critical responsibilities. FEMA and the Secret Service and TSA and all these other agencies. But the Democrats said, we'll do some of that, but we're not going to fund border security and we're not going to fund immigration enforcement. That's absurd, and we threw a fit, and we had to. We held the Homeland bill, the underlying funding bill, because we had to ensure that they could not isolate and eliminate those two critical agencies. We are getting those done now. We passed the resolution first. That was critically important for us to do to ensure that we're going to protect the homeland, even though Democrats are unwilling to do it. So now that that box is checked, we're allowed then to proceed and go through with the rest of it. This will relieve pressure from the Department of Homeland Security. Secretary Mullen, who I've spoken to in the last couple of hours, will be greatly relieved. The president will, the administration will. We were not going to have lines at TSA. Everybody will get their paychecks now. We'll get moving forward. And then we will finish the work and finally get, again, for 3 years with no crazy Democrat reforms, we will fund Border Patrol and immigration enforcement as soon as we return for the work session when that bill is finalized.
On FISA, Mr. Speaker, what do you anticipate from the Senate, and are you concerned that whatever the Senate sends over might be a problem over here?
I'm not concerned. I hope that they're going to do the right thing. Look, we sent over a reauthorization of that with minor reforms and with the anti-CBDC measure on it. These are very simple things that the vast majority of Congress agrees with, and they should get it done. They're running out of time. As you know, it will expire tonight, the end of today. And so we're calling on them to do the job, pass the House's bill, and get this done. Check the last box of the week.
They're not going to take the House bill, though.
Well, we're going to see. They don't seem to have another alternative. We'll find out how that works.
Mr. Speaker.
I don't know who you're quoting. Okay, so look, this is they often analogize legislating to making sausage. You don't want to see it made. And sometimes it's an ugly process. Sometimes it's a long process. I've never broken my word to a single person in this building. Nobody can tell you they can. There was a lot of emotion and frustration yesterday because sometimes when you have a small margin, as we do, we're currently working on a one-vote razor-thin margin because of absences and the rest. And people have, different ideas, different priorities about very contentious pieces of legislation. The equations that we solved on legislation this week were virtually impossible. Many of you said it couldn't be done. But we got it done because ultimately we just use patience and, frankly, prayer. And we get a lot of people together and we listen to their concerns and we try to get the disparate priorities handled. I've never asked a colleague in the Republican Party ever to violate a core principle. But sometimes we have to give up on our preferences because we are in a large body. On some of these bills, some of the ones that I just named for you, they're so complicated and so complex that you literally had irreconcilable demands on either side of the House Republican Conference. And so it takes a long time to work through that and get people to consensus. But we do that patiently. We do as we must, and we ultimately deliver. Don't doubt the House Republican majority. We always deliver for the American people. We did it again in spite of the challenges, and we'll continue to do that. Thank you so much.
This is the third shutdown in 6 months. What will you do to prevent this